This edition of the Rhode Island Spotlight is brought to you by Amica Insurance, a proud sponsor of the Southside Community Land Trust. On a crisp October morning, Charlotte Owimpaway is harvesting a bumper crop of collards she planted at a farm in western Cranston. A small army of volunteers is here to help, and the surplus she can't sell will eventually go to people who need food the most. Owimpaway, who fled Rwanda 20 years ago, is one of more than 24 farmers in a program run by the Providence-based nonprofit Southside Community Land Trust. The Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management owns these 50 acres, but makes them available to Southside for $1 a year. In turn, the organization, which renamed the property Urban Edge Farm, leases plots to farmers, many of whom are refugees or immigrants, to grow, sell, and eat their own food. They range in size from 1/3 of an acre to 2.5 acres. Throughout Rhode Island, 1,600 people like Owimpaway and their families use 60 gardens and farms that Southside either owns or leases.
Healthy, fresh food is expensive. It doesn't have to be so expensive. We just have it structured in a way that the best stuff costs the most.
Margaret DeVos came to Rhode Island from Detroit 12 years ago to become Southside's executive director, expanding what was once a network of community gardens into a much larger operation supporting farmers and finding a landing spot for their crops. The nonprofit served more than 23,000 people through its array of programs last year. Southside moved into a beautifully rehabbed 2-story building 2 years ago that is home to its food hub, which includes a restaurant and a West African market on the first floor, with ingredients that are hard to find in other parts of the city. On any given week during the growing season, farmers arrive with their crops, which Southside purchases, taking one major challenge off their hands.
Farmers had to plant the food, keep it alive, harvest it, drive to the market, sell every single thing they grew. That's not how food works. It'll never work that way.
The food is weighed, sorted, and categorized, then bagged, and within a few days goes right back out the door.
We have partnerships with Lifespan and Care New England through their clinics. And so they have doctors who are talking with patients and finding that their patients are experiencing food insecurity. So they write a prescription. They write a vegetable prescription, basically. We call it our Veggie RX program.
It was just a grassroots, growing, healthy food type of movement that allowed African Americans and immigrants, Cambodians, Vietnamese, to sort of be at home a little bit with the food that they ate.
Rochelle Lee had a front row seat when Southside began obtaining vacant lots in the city. Among the first, City Farm, a 3/4 acre tract surrounded by asphalt and triple deckers. Across the street, the Somerset Community Garden has 50 gardeners spread over 2/3 of an acre. Across the city, Southside oversees dozens of community gardens like this one on Charles Street and another a block west of Broad Street. It gives people an opportunity to control what they eat, and for the immigrant community, a chance to produce food from their native countries that might not be available in Rhode Island.
We have to talk about the food system and how the food system has basically kind of led us down a path where we don't have a lot of control over what we eat, what's in what we eat, or how do we even get to good food. A lot of people think of poverty as just not having money, but you can be very wealthy and still be impoverished when it comes to food issues and health issues.
On an unseasonably warm day last month, Rich Peterson harvested one of the last batches of vegetables he'd grown at City Farm, a demonstration farm in the heart of South Providence. Peterson's official title is steward of this property, Appropriate because his fingerprints, as well as his footprints, are on every corner of the lot.
I think of City Farm as kind of being kind of like planet Earth, right? We have finite amounts of land to grow on this planet, and here at City Farm, and instead of being surrounded by space, we're surrounded by asphalt. We can't really grow our footprint. So the idea is really how can we sustainably grow an abundance amount of food for a long-term vision to continually be able to grow and replenish and grow and replenish. So I feel like that's what we're doing. And every little corner of the farm is we have little things that are tucked in. So, like every little space, we're trying to grow food.
Peterson estimates that he's grown about 80 different vegetables here this year.
Can we demonstrate successful food growing for small scale homeowners, apartment dwellers, folks that have little pieces of land, community gardeners, or can we also demonstrate for people that want to scale up and show how, that you can grow a lot of food in a small area?
Peterson has been with Southside for 23 years. Most of what he grows at City Farm he will sell at the Cranston Street Farmers Market just a mile away from the farm.
Most food on everyone's plate travels on average about 1,500 miles. And so a lot of the food that's at that farmer's market is in the greenbelt of Providence or in the city itself, and it's being sold at that market. So it's a mile from our place of food growing to the armory. So
1 mile and really fresh.
Harvested that day.
It is a mix of farmers who come here every week during the growing season, and it attracts a consistent clientele. People looking for fresh food and items they may have a hard time finding anywhere else.
It feels like one of the rare places in society today where you have the common green, where people can come together to socially interact and support one another. It feels like real important civics right there. What I like about that market is I think it represents the diversity of growers in a way that a lot of farmers markets don't. And I also feel like the customer base represents Providence in a really beautiful way.
We're gonna look for the knotweed. You see the yellow leaves poking up there?
5 miles to the north, Chandel Wilson is supervising a handful of teenagers in Southside's youth program. They are helping prepare this piece of property for the winter, leased from the Pawtucket Housing Authority behind the Gallego Court housing complex. Wilson came to Southside 4 years ago to become the education program manager.
Working here has helped me grow my skill set as a person and as a farmer, and it's also helped me just kind of align my life to where I want it to be. I came into this job wanting to be a farmer, and this year I've been able to register my home property as a farm with the USDA and start working toward that vein, right?
Southside has upwards of 30 teenagers who are all paid in the youth program during the growing season.
A lot of what we're doing is learning and experiential, and so in that regard, it's not such a high intensity work experience, but we are helping them to master those soft skills, right? And responsibility, showing up on time, communicating when you're not able to make it to your shift. I was in the garden with 3 boys yesterday mulching and picking up all these dead leaves, and they're screaming because they're garden snakes, but they're also having fun. And it's a different kind of fun because they'd all be home. If they weren't in the garden with me, leaf mulching, they'd be home playing video games. And it's a different kind of fun that our teens aren't exposed to as much anymore.
In October, the Southside staff held an annual Harvest Fest at Gallego Court as a thank you to the residents for allowing them to use part of the land. The cookout drew a crowd as the Southside staff gave away pumpkins and other vegetables, answering questions from the curious about the array of what was on display.
I heard a lot of residents tell me that they really look forward to that day, that it's something that the kids look forward to, and that to me felt really special.
While Southside's impact has grown over the years, its mission remains much the same as it was at its founding 4 decades ago.
It's kind of magical that people come from war-torn places. They come here. They're able to employ the skills and the talents that make them feel connected here, like they were at home, and we benefit. We get the food. We get to buy the food.
And I also think that the Land Trust work of just giving people access to land to be able to grow food for social, emotional well-being, for nutritional benefits through physical activity, through the just the act of putting a seed in the ground and seeing that miracle happen, I think is pretty priceless.
In Providence, Jim Hummel for the Rhode Island Spotlight.